Action. And action.
3, 2, 1.
Hey y'all, and welcome to Crown Television, where we're all about our crowns and never about them clowns. I'm your host, Terry J, and tonight we're gonna kind of go off of the usual normal rails that we're on, and I need to discuss something very serious. I actually started to type my notes up for Basketball Wives Season 9, Episode 4, and I had about a paragraph written, and then I deleted the entire thing. Every single word, because I realized that I needed to talk about something that was tugging at my heart. For the past couple of months, I've been following a very shocking story. And not only is it shocking, it's gruesome, it's heinous, unimaginable, incomprehensible, vile, disgusting, upsetting, and just downright nasty. The story I'm speaking on is the one about Clifford T.I. Harris and his wife Tamika Tiny Demon Harris. It's somewhat kind of my duty to mention the situation, and I just wanted to just come here for a few minutes and do a serious vlog just for a moment. And it's my duty because I have a almost 21-year-old daughter, and so as a mother of an almost 21-year-old daughter, as a stepmother of an almost 18-year-old daughter, as an aunt to a niece that's 18 years old, and then I have 3 other nieces, and then not to mention my nephews and my stepsons, who unfortunately are not excluded when it comes to predatory behavior just because they're males. So I felt like it was important to come and have a conversation. So I want to just discuss the story a little bit. My intent isn't really to spend all of my time on Tiny and T.I. My intent is to target the audience that I just mentioned and to bring awareness to the young folk to things like predatory behavior. Of course, me being in the legal field, I know better than to try to suggest any kind of guilt, that hasn't been upheld in the court of law. The burden of proof is very important here, and I just want to give you the facts of the story or the background as we all know it so far. Sometime around the end of January, a woman by the name of Sabrina Peterson made a comment on social media directed toward the mayor of Atlanta, Keisha Lance Bottoms. The comment was an effort to bash Ms. Bottoms for giving people like T.I. a political platform, because according to Ms. Peterson, T.I. is anything but a law-abiding citizen. Tiny didn't like those comments that Sabrina made, so Tiny jumped on social media and accused Sabrina of lying and saying that she obviously doesn't think T.I. is a bad person. Sabrina had her kids calling T.I. uncle, and then at the end of it, Tiny pleaded with Sabrina to leave her family alone and stop being a stalker. As a result of that, it got worse. Sabrina then alleged that T.I. put a gun to her head. At first, I thought that this was just a political tactic to destroy Keisha Lance Bottoms. But then weeks went by and the situation snowballed, and I realized this was something a little bit deeper than someone trying to get their political views heard. Other celebrities, well, I don't really want to call this person no celebrity. The shit just don't feel comfortable. Anyway, Shekinah Joe then called herself going on social media to defend Tiny, and what she ended up doing was implementing Tiny and admitted to the world that T.I. and Tiny, along with Sabrina, were recruiting girls for threesomes. Then the situation started to take a turn, a dark, violent, foul, dangerous, unpleasant, horrid, revolting turn. And Sabrina started doing Instagram lives. During these lives, women began reaching out and disclosing their encounters with the couples. And then I still had issues, and I asked myself, well, why would a couple that's rich and both of them are decent, good-looking people and famous and can have anyone in the world they wanted, why would they have to do any of the things that these women are alleging? And later on, the answer became quite clear. The couple was trying to feed an insatiable, unquenchable appetite because they had been doing this for years, and quite frankly, consensual grown-up threesomes with the likes of Blac Chyna just got boring. So I want you all to watch this 5-minute mini documentary that describes some of the wickedest wicked, vicious, maniacal, and sickening things that the couple are being accused of. There's no way that I could sit here and try to elaborate on each and every encounter without thinking about my daughter and my stepdaughter and my niece and my nephews. Because I would just burst into tears if I tried to, oh, victim number one said this and that. So I really, just want you guys to watch this quick little clip really quick.
I want to be clear about one thing. Women who have been victimized deserve to be heard. Women, black women in particular, should be supported, protected, defended, and uplifted.
Jane Doe 1. Date of incident, summer 2006. Location of incident, Atlanta, Georgia. In 2006, she was a 17-year-old senior at Tri-City High School. She began interning for T.I. and Tiny at their Atlanta studio. She was vaginally and anally raped by T.I. after being given alcohol and drugs by Tiny. Jane Doe 2, a U.S. military veteran. Date of incident, September 2005. Location of incident, Los Angeles, California. Tiny sat next to Jane Doe 2 at a club and offered her a sip of a spiked drink. Tiny and T.I. took her and a few other girls back to their hotel. Tiny gave her a, quote, back butt massage. At that point, Jane Doe 2 started feeling sick and began throwing up. T.I. came over and attempted to put his foot into her vagina. She told him no, and the next thing she remembers was waking up naked on the couch with a towel thrown over her with a very sore vagina. Jane Doe 3. Date of incident, September 25th, 2006, and March 2007. Location of incidents, New York City and Atlanta, Georgia. An aspiring artist. Tiny invited her to the studio in January 2007 and passed her off to her security, Cedric Alpha Mega Sellers. Jane Doe 3 rejected his advances, and he grabbed her phone, put his number in, called himself, and began stalking her nonstop for months. She ignored him until she saw him again 2 months later. At that second encounter, Alpha Mega grabbed her and put a gun to her head. He then blindfolded her, put her in his car, and drove 20 to 15 minutes into Georgia. He raped her 3 times within a 24-hour window, drove her back to the studio the following day, and pistol-whipped her, threatened to kill her if she spoke. Shortly after, she received a call from T.I. threatening her to never come near his studio again. Jane Doe 4, a teenage friend. Date of incident with T.I., 2006, 2007, and 2015. In 2005, Tiny approached her to work as their assistant. She was never paid or compensated for any of the work completed. On one occasion, T.I. stood over her, and Tiny stood close by as T.I. forced her to open her mouth and swallow 8 ecstasy pills. Throughout the duration of her time with T.I. and Tiny, the duo forced her to engage in sexual acts with different women against her will. In 2014, T.I. and Tiny forced her to have sexual intercourse with rapper Nelly against her will. Jane Doe 5. Date of incident with T.I., October 2017. Location of incident, Atlanta, Georgia. A Clark Atlanta University freshman. She was slipped a date rape drug while visiting Grand Hessel Studios in Atlanta with one of T.I.'s interns. Jane Doe 6. Date of incident, 2017-2018. Forced to take Molly, coke, and other drugs. Location of incident, Atlanta, Georgia. A private dancer. Jane Doe 6 was hired to do a private dance for T.I. and Tiny. She was told that there would be other celebrities there, and she needed to keep the encounter confidential. She was forced to take drugs and engage in unwanted sexual acts with other women. She had her cell phone and belongings taken and was held against her will for 3 days. Tramika Williams. Date of incident, December 12, 2009. Location of incident, Atlanta, Georgia. A 7-month-old pregnant mother and 8-year-old boy. In the December of 2009, Tramika Williams was pregnant when T.I. and a group of his associates kicked in her front door and put guns to the heads of her 8-year-old, 6-year-old, and 4-year-old sons and made them go to the closet. They then beat up her ex-husband at the time and kidnapped him. It was 3 p.m. in the afternoon. They called the police, and the DeKalb County Police Department came,
I want to be
investigated,
clear about one
and did
thing.
nothing after.
Women who have been victimized deserve to be heard. Women, black women in particular, should be supported, protected, defended, and uplifted.
Now, as you guys have noticed, most, if not all of the encounters included the use of drugs, particularly the drugs Molly and ecstasy. Many of the girls were slip spike drinks, but most likely most of them took them willingly. So I wanted to share some information with our young people about these drugs in hopes to educate a young person that may be watching this and haven't done the proper research about the things that they're putting into their body. So just a few quick tips about Molly and ecstasy. So it's called 3/4 methyldioxymethamphetamine, and it's a synthetic drug that alters mood and perception. It is chemically similar to stimulants and hallucinogens. MDMA is commonly called ecstasy or Molly. Here's another little tidbit. The long word for Molly is molecular. So Molly is molecular, shortened. I guess, Molly sounds more trendy than, hey, let's go do some molecular, Many people are unaware that ecstasy and supposedly pure Molly also often contain not only pure MDMA, but other drugs that may be particularly dangerous when mixed with MDMA. Also, traces of Viagra can be found in some of these drugs. Can it cause brain damage or death with just one dose? The short answer is yes. The natural response is to try to rehydrate with water, but then you're just diluting your salt content even more, and that can become dangerous and deadly as well. So those are just some of the risks, some of the factors that are involved with MDMA or Molly or ecstasy. So lastly, before I go, I wanted to share some information for all my babies. Listen, our girls, they're young, they're kids, they're gonna go to clubs, they're gonna go to parties, they're gonna drink alcohol, and no matter what we say, they may even experiment with drugs. When we were growing up, we were smoking weed and drinking 40s, but this generation, unfortunately, they're popping pills and sipping lean. So I just wanted to share a few tips to avoid predatory behavior and how to keep yourself safe at a party, an outing, a nightclub, etc. Tips for partying smart: stick with your friends, make a plan before you go out, set up checkpoints or code words to make it easier for you and your friends to stay connected. I remember when me and my sister used to go to the club and we would always talk in code. I was really generic. We would say something like, oh yeah, drunk guy, 9 o'clock, or guys coming over, we go together. And we would pretend to be a couple, to get the guys away from us. We would do little certain things to keep ourselves safe in a party situation. Hold on to your drink, even when you go to the bathroom, when you're at these parties or at a club. If your drink is out of your sight, even for a few seconds, get a new one. Spiking a drink with a date rape drug can happen very quickly. Don't accept a drink from anyone unless you watch the bartender pour it. Avoid clubs or parties that charge men but let women enter and drink for free. You're being set up. You're bait. Your cell phone charged and on you. You never know when you'll need it. Make sure you always have a ride home or plan a walk home with a friend or roommate. Trust your instincts. If something doesn't feel right to you, leave and go to a safe place immediately. The next group of things I'm going to talk about is just avoidance strategies. These are things you can do or red flags to look for in a predator or someone who would be the type to subdue someone or harm someone or take someone unwillingly. Be aware of controlling behavior in your date or relationship. Look for intimidating stares. Look for degrading jokes or degrading language, preferably towards women. Refusal to respond to physical limits. Like you're telling someone, no, don't do this, and they continue to do it or start to do it more to see how much they can get away with. Extreme jealousy or possessiveness. Those are just things to look for when you're out and about and a person is acting out erratically or doing some of these demeaning things, they may have a trait of a pedophile or a predator. Set clear limits and be firm. Being nice and being polite is always what we're taught, but in some of these situations you cannot be that way. You have to mean what you say and say what you mean. I said no. I said I don't like it when you say these things to me. I said stop that. You're making me uncomfortable. I'm ready to leave. Things like that. Yeah, they're gonna call you a bitch, but you're gonna be a safe bitch. Be independent and aware on your dates. And that's another thing, when me and my sister and friends would go out, if one of us saw the other one getting a little bit too turned, then that person would fall back a little bit, because we understood that everybody couldn't be, you know, fucked up and out of it. And on top of that, if you're at a party or a club, don't depend on people around you. I went out with my family a lot. I'm from a small town. A lot of these things, I couldn't imagine just going out with friends and being the age I was in, because you really can't get turned like that, and you can't depend on the people around you to have your back and look out for you and make sure you're safe, because they're off having a good time. And quite frankly, if they don't have your blood in you, they don't care. They're not there to mother you, they're there to have a good time. So don't feel comfortable, you know, letting loose in strange situations. If you feel yourself having one too many, it's time to take it on in the house. I really do hope that the information I've shared really helps someone watching. Like I said, I did this one for our babies because, believe it or not, there are women all over the world who simply don't know any better. No one has cared enough about them to tell them any of these things, and unfortunately, those are the type of people that people like T.I. and Tiny or any other predator would prey on. So take time right now and tell your baby girls you love them. Tell them to love themselves and explain to them that celebrities are just people. That's it. You don't have to degrade yourself or belittle yourself or step outside of who you are to try to get someone to notice you or try to be around someone who's popular or a celebrity. You are enough. Let them know they can talk to you about anything, and never ever judge them. And make them wear their crowns at all times. This particular blog has taken so much out of me. It was so draining, and it just reminded me of why I do a lot of reviews on reality TV. I just want to escape bullshit like this. But sometimes there's just a certain responsibility that comes with us as parents or as older people or role models to share information and try to look out for the safety of our young people. And not to mention, a lot of T.I. and Tiny's alleged victims are my daughter's age. They were babies. They were people who were 21 years old and younger, and some who were even underage, allegedly. So it was very important that I did this blog. At any rate, thank you guys for watching. My name is Terry J. This is Crown Television, where we're all about our crowns and never about them clowns.